What is up, y'all? It's Devon here again for Obligatory, showing up for you every Friday with a music news and new music recap. Today is August 30, 2024, and I'm pretty damn excited to talk today about the upcoming Clipse album, Let God Sort 'Em Out, slated for 2025. We got some news directly from Pusha T saying that the album is basically completely finished, save for one very special guest feature. This clip came from his interview on the Ghetto Runways podcast. Confirmed guests on the album so far are Nas, John Legend, Stove God Cooks from the Griselda camp. So who else? Let's go ahead and go down the list. I have the popular guesses, the long shots, my own personal would-be cool type picks. Definitely let me know your ideas down in the comments section, but let's start with maybe the most obvious in Kendrick Lamar. It's been almost a decade since they dropped a classic song together in Nostalgia, and of course, with Kendrick fully immersed in his feud with Drake at the moment, you could see why two of Drake's biggest haters of all time would come together for a song, right?
You wanna see a dead body?
I think it would also make a lot of sense as to why this wasn't already recorded, why this is something that they are now kind of waiting to get. I think this is the one that people would want to hear the most, maybe of anything I wrote on this list. But yeah, I think a 2025 Kendrick Lamar and Clipse collab would feed families, as they say. Another very popular name I saw online a lot, and I also thought of this as well, Jay-Z, right? Hove and Push have been steady collaborators of late. They put out some really good music together, and so while that's always a special collab, I will say it wouldn't necessarily be out of the ordinary, right? It wouldn't be Kendrick Lamar, their first track together in a decade, but anytime you get Jay-Z to do a verse, I mean, that in and of itself is pretty special. Another name that was much less popular, much less likely of a theory, by the way, but notably this one was suggested by Lucky. What about Lil Wayne, right? Lil Wayne would definitely be the most surprising to me personally because the beef between Clipse and Wayne and Birdman, I mean, it goes pretty deep. Now at this point, I think the divide only goes further with Pharrell and Kendrick and Kanye all in the periphery of this. One of the less likely picks on this list, but would be one of the most historic collaborations of any on this list for sure. Before I go on with a few more of my long shot guesses, let's talk about Family and Ab Liva, who, if you don't already know them, I would say go back to some of the earlier Clipse music. And I would love to see this. I think for a Clipse reunion record, it really only would be right. And to me, this actually seems very likely to happen. Recently, Push and Family have been doing interviews, charitable work together in Virginia, and have upcoming performances scheduled. What about Andre 3000? What about Outkast as a group? I mean, that would be pretty damn special. And that's something I have seen thrown out there by a few people online. But in all honesty, man, I really think that man, Andre 3000, is completely content to be playing his flute right now. That would certainly be a very special thing. I mean, it would be one of the most special ones on this list, but to be honest, I really don't see it. Rick Ross is another name that would make a level of sense, right? It wouldn't really be my first pick personally. They did collab together on Daytona, and they have a song together with Royce the 5'9" as well. Okay, now for the absolute long shot I got here. This one is probably the least likely of any of them. What if Clipse got the first Lauryn Hill rap verse in Forever? And that might sound kind of random, but Push and Lauryn did do a collab together around 2020, I think, with her singing the chorus in sort of the manner of like the song she did with Nas, right? Imagine that. A verse from her would be among the most special things that could happen. And then what about Tyler, the Creator? This is a name I haven't seen thrown out there at all, but similar to Kendrick, Tyler and Push haven't collabed together on a song that we've heard since 2011. Tyler, of course, is very close with Pharrell, who is exclusively producing this album and is a huge Clipse and Neptunes fan. So in a way, the connections are there. I think the fit would really be there. I think he would really bring an exciting element to this album and would bring something a little bit different that you might not expect. So those are my wild guesses. Yours are as good as mine at this point. So I want to know what you think down in the comment section of any name I threw out there. And if there wasn't a name I threw out there, please let me know down in the comment section. Let's talk. Speaking of Kendrick Lamar, the rumors continue to swirl as to whether or not an album from him is on the horizon. And I think, long story short, probably not. It would be my guess. Again, my guess, as good as yours. We do keep getting little bits of like basically rumors, not really any real news to run with, but that doesn't stop people from running with it. I mean, you'll literally see people taking this as Kendrick is confirming a new album is coming. DJ Academics is separately saying this as well. I would just say, I think right now we're in the same place we were a week ago or 2 months ago when it was like, I have no idea if he's going to drop now or in a year from now. He could literally go on tour with just these couple new songs and a couple of the people that he, did the pop out concert with, right? Like DJ Mustard, Roddy Ricch. He could go worldwide with that and drop an album next year sometime. If he doesn't drop this album in September or October, I'd probably not bet on it dropping in November and December. Now, I think the world stops whenever Kendrick drops some music, no matter what day it is, but those aren't really the months that people tend to target for album release dates. I might be wrong, but for me, nothing this side of 2024 really feels right. But again, who knows? There's also been like that little bit of scuttlebutt out there that Drake is trying to drop some new music soon-ish. And we all know October is like his month. So does Kendrick want to drop at the same time? Does he want to follow him up? Or how does he want to engage with that, right? So yeah, kind of a non-story this week for Kendrick Lamar, but some people are trying to make it seem like more than that. I just hope that y'all understand that this is, at least right now, is mostly a non-story. Next up, we got to say a collective get well soon to one of hip-hop's greatest rappers, Scarface. Scarface, again, one of the greatest rappers to me, Houston legend and member of the Ghetto Boys, is reportedly been in ICU this week. This is pretty scary because in 2020, Scarface was hospitalized with COVID-19, which did result in him needing a kidney transplant at that time. So potentially very grave situation. Hopefully he's well soon. Hopefully we get some more information and news on this. Questlove is confirming that a new Roots album is coming in 2025. He announced this via his podcast, the Questlove Supreme podcast, interviewing Pete Rock and Common about their recent album, The Auditorium Volume 1. Quest basically said that him and Black Thought have been recently very inspired by Common and Pete Rock's recent album, that their love for the album has really kind of pushed them into motion on working on their upcoming project. And I must say, I do share their love for that project. It's very cool. The only other thing I thought was kind of interesting was Q said that it's releasing on, quote, a seminal date. That will make sense when it drops. So I don't know. Roots fans, you got any ideas on this? Drop them down in the comment section. Enlighten us if you will. Also this week, there is room to speculate about The Alchemist potentially being on J. Cole's next upcoming album. So The Alchemist did another one of his pretty sporadic Twitter Q&A sessions with fans. Usually he does tease out a little bit of new music as well. And so this time when he was asked if he'll be on the upcoming J. Cole album, The Fall Off, he left that open to interpretation. Weirdly, I have seen headlines like Alchemist is producing The Fall Off. Like, literally, I would love to hear Alchemist produce an entire J. Cole album. I think that would do wonders for J. Cole. I don't think that's what's happening. Kid Cudi, once again this week, had to reiterate that the Scott album, his fabled collaborative album project with Travis Scott, is not happening. He first declared the project dead back in 2022, and that was already 2 years removed from the Scott's single that they put out in 2020. Martin Shkreli, former Pharma Bro felon, once again cooked in the court of law this week, because while he is no longer the owner of the very rare $4 million Wu-Tang album Once Upon a Time in Shaolin, he has kept digital copies, which he is allowed to do. But since he has been feuding with the current owners of the album and playing the album for fans via Twitter, he has officially breached that agreement with the current owners and with the government, and he's now being ordered to turn over any digital copies that he has. The only thing that really comes to mind here, though, is like, how are they going to be absolutely sure that he has no more digital copies of this album? I mean, he absolutely seems like the type of guy to weasel out of this one. So we'll see if any more news comes from this in the future. But yeah, some tour news from this week. I wanted to give a shout out to Macklemore, who made news again this week for taking a humanitarian stance sort of in and around his music. So this week he canceled upcoming tour dates scheduled in Dubai, citing the United Arab Emirates' involvement in the war and devastation currently unfolding in Sudan. Macklemore, we know, recently has made very pro-Palestinian stances online and in his music, and is now responding to pressure from fans to roll that solidarity over towards the Sudanese crisis, which this is a major world event that is being completely under-televised, under-publicized, and if you just ask the average person, they don't know anything about it. Good on Macklemore for not only listening to, but also amplifying the message of organizers surrounding the cause. Now, if you want to know a little bit more about why he's pulling out or what's happening in Sudan right now, got some of that information down in the description. Oasis is reuniting for a UK tour in 2025. This will be one of the first live shows in over 15 years for one of the greatest selling rock bands of all time, perhaps one of the greatest British canon events of all time. Originally, this was announced for 5 cities across the UK. It is already being expanded to meet some of the high demand. And finally, I want to let y'all know the Andre 3000 New Blue Sun film is out now in full on YouTube. So it is the full length of the album, so you get to listen to the entire thing, and it features Andre just kind of vibing out to his own shit, I'm not gonna lie. On to the new releases from this week. It's a pretty good week. The big names are Big Sean, Kehlani, Destroy Lonely. Highlights from our team here, Obligatory, Enum Claw, a very cool indie rock post-grunge band that's from out here in my neck of the woods, Pacific Northwest. And then there's Doechie's new mixtape. She is one of the newest members of the TDE label, is extremely versatile, but also so far pretty underrated. New singles this week, Corday is back with Anderson .Paak. We got a Chance the Rapper single. A$AP Rocky dropped a song and video that I guess leaked with the album, and that's part of the reason why he pushed the album back. I don't know, that whole situation is a mess. Albums announced this week. The editor's picks this week will probably be Godspeed You Black Emperor, as well as the new Audinji album. I hope I said that right. This artist was formerly known as Asian Glow and was pretty popular with some of our contributors. And then albums the rest of September and the rest of the year. September, October, looking pretty good. Shout out to everybody that's been excited with me for months on that Nilofer album. We are finally going to get that shit very soon. So that is the episode for this week. As always, feel free to let me know down in the comments section what you thought of anything we talked about in terms of news or new music, what new music you're listening to this weekend, or just what you're listening to this weekend, and potentially also what you're most excited about in terms of albums. Thanks again, y'all. Peace out. See you next Friday with more news. Thanks again for watching. All right. Peace.